9 sharp, it will go live on air.
So now, did you tell us when we go live?
Okay. 37 seconds.
Okay, thank you for... 30 segundos quedan. Vosotros lo veis en on air, cuando en on air estáis viendo la cuenta atrás. En on air estáis viendo la cuenta atrás.
$15 seconds. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mike, sorry, I think we can't hear you. No, not yet. There's no audio. Madre mía. Still no audio.
Vamos a pasar al plato. Vamos contigo, David.
Sí. Okay. Hello, good morning, good evening, good morning. We are checking Mike's sound system because 1 minute ago it worked. Sorry, this is live streaming, and we don't know now why you cannot hear him. So if you give us a couple of seconds, we will check that Mike has proper audio. Otherwise, it would be difficult to interact with him. Mike, if you can tell us if you talk to us, or I can't see you. I will see if we can share screen so that I can see you. ¿Me ponéis a Mike o no? No le veo. Okay, we'll come back in a couple of seconds, I hope. We are still trying to solve this problem. I can see you, Mike. If you are saying, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Now
All right.
we need the... So we call... Okay, Mike, I can see you and probably hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. Okay, with many apologies to everybody for this unexpected turn of events. Welcome to the third day of the Global Forum of Best Cities, and welcome to the Madrid Day, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start now, and I really hope that we will be able to avoid any further issues with technical hitches. This afternoon, we're going to do a program which is a bit different from what you have had in the past few days. We're going to be much more in contact with parts of the world. We have somebody from Brussels, we have somebody from the UK, we have somebody from South Africa, and we have guests in the studio. Although apparently I now seem to have lost the connection with the studio in Zoom. Let's see if we can resume that quickly. Meanwhile, let me give you a brief introduction to this afternoon's program. We're going to do three things, essentially. 1, 2, 3. The first thing we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to talk quite extensively about legacy. Legacy as a topic for associations, as a topic for the events that you as associations do. The second thing we're going to do a Madrid city tour, and it's going to be the very first time, I believe, for most of you to go on a city tour which is completely virtual and where you will have the opportunity to visit no fewer than 4 places in the lovely and beautiful city of Madrid in only 30 minutes. This is one of the wonders of technology. You can't do this for real, but you can do it if you do it virtually. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to give you a bit of a sneak preview of the program that, of course, we had in mind for you originally, because originally you were supposed to be here live in Madrid. We all know why that isn't possible, but we are expecting to have everybody live here next year, and we have a program already temporarily shelved, which we hope we can unfreeze as soon as the pandemic allows us to do so. So, ladies and gentlemen, if at all possible, one of the things I would like to do now is to give you a preview of what we are going to see later today when we do the Madrid City Tour, just so that you have an idea. So could I ask the studio to bring on stream the video where we do the brief tour of Madrid? And could the studio confirm with me that we can actually do this?
Yes.
You saw 4 lovely places in Madrid, ladies and gentlemen, and later today you will have the opportunity to virtually visit these places. Let me briefly tell you which they were. The first one was Palazzo de Cibeles, which is a place where culture, art, and history come together. It was known as the Cathedral of Communications. It was built in the early 20th century, and there's a lot of superstition surrounding the building of that particular construction, and it took much longer than originally planned. Hopefully, your host there will have some more details on these superstitions. Next, you saw, let me get that exactly right, the rooftop of Rio Plata, España. From this rooftop, you will have a really good idea of the enormous expanses of green that Madrid houses. It's one of the greenest cities in the world. I didn't know that before I got onto this program. You have a lovely view of that. The third one is the Gran Via and Museo Chicote. The Gran Via is one of the major shopping and outgoing areas of Madrid, and the Museo Chicote has a very special history with especially focusing on cocktails, and you'll hear more about that when you go there later today. And the fourth and last one that we can visit later today, as I said, when we do our virtual city tour, is restaurant Gallinas e Focas. You will have a host receiving you there, explaining to you how this restaurant connects with the topic of legacy. So that's in store for us. You have seen them briefly in Google Maps as we were talking, and you have an idea of where they are in Madrid and what you will be able to find there. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to move into the studio and start getting ready for the part of our program which is going to be dedicated to legacy. For this, my first chat will be with David Noack Perez, who is the head of the Madrid Convention Bureau. David, are you there?
Hello, Mike.
Hi, good to hear your voice, and I'm really happy that we have managed to overcome the initial technical hitches. David, listen, I think really the first thing we should talk about is how are things in Madrid right now?
Well, fortunately, are going a little bit better. Situation is still complicated as in the rest of the country and in the rest of Europe and parts of the world. So we are, well, trying to do our best. Whenever we can, we meet with safe conditions. but we can freely move around the city. So we guess that it's going to better and better in the next weeks and months.
Okay, that sounds good. So you are on the downward slope of the second wave, so to speak?
Well, we shouldn't be that optimistic yet, but things are going a little bit better.
Okay, okay. Your country has been one of the countries perhaps in the world, or definitely in Europe, which has been suffering the most. Personally, how has that affected you, David?
Well, it has been a change for all of us. We had to rapidly change our way of life, but also of working. We are today here with you wearing a face mask, which is not the most nicest way to interact with you, but it's necessary, and we would like to keep them. So adapting to the new situation.
Yeah, yeah. Are you working 100% from home?
No, we are not working just from home. We are also meeting in our offices 2 days a week.
Okay.
So trying to have a normal reality.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Thank you. Of course, this whole situation is the reason why we can't be live in Madrid now. As we said earlier on, we're going to try and give people a feeling of what Madrid could mean to them if they come next week, and we'll get back to that later, David. I would like now to introduce our panel, ladies and gentlemen. We've got two panels for you. We have a panel live in the studio with 3 guests from Madrid, and they are going to talk to us about projects that they are running related to legacy. We also have 3 guests, as I already gave them at least a geographical location from outside of Madrid. But let me start with introducing the panel from Madrid to you first. We have Doctoressa Natalia Carvalho. She's the head of the Radiation Oncology Service at MD Anderson Madrid, which is one of the most important cancer hospitals in Madrid. She is also the ESTRO chairperson for Spain, and she's been working with ESTRO on a legacy project for which she is the project coordinator. Hello, Natalia. Can you hear me properly?
Hello, Mike. Hello, everybody. Yes.
Okay. Sitting next to Natalia, probably, but I can't tell really from the image, but we have Guillermo Pradilles, who's the director of the Department of Conservative Dentistry and Buccofacial Prosthesis of the University of Complutense in Madrid. And I apologize that I had to read that from my notes rather than being able to pronounce that looking into the camera. Welcome, Guillermo.
Thank you, Mike. Hello.
Guillermo has been also working on a project related to legacy on behalf of CEPES, of which he is the vice president. CEPES is one of the associations for people in the dental world in Spain. And thirdly, but definitely no less important, we are very happy to have with us Fernando Riaño, who's the director of CSR Sustainability and Institutional Relationships at Grupo Social ONCE Ilunion, the ONCE Foundation, which has a very special position with regard to inclusion policies in Spain. He's also the WBU Vice President. And later, Fernando, we're going to talk about your attempts to get the World Blind Conference to Madrid, right?
Yeah. Hello, Mike. Good morning. Thank you very much for your presentation. And hello, everyone.
Fernando. Right. Now, as I already said, and as you can probably see in your screens, ladies and gentlemen, we also have 3 guests from abroad. Let me start introducing Irina Martin. She is from One Health Platform in Brussels, Belgium. Hello, Irina.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Lovely to have you. Thank you for joining us, even though virtually. We have James Latham, I'm sorry. James is with the Iceberg in the UK. Hello, James.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. And another old friend, if I may say so, even though we're both trying to keep very young, Jeffers Niruka. Jeffers, who is with the African Society of Association Executives from South Africa. Hello, Jeffers.
Hi, Mike.
Hope all is well with you in South Africa, Jeffers?
Yes, it is.
Good, good. Right, while keeping for now our mics on mute, I'd like to chop up this session into essentially 3 parts. We're going to listen to some introduction of the projects that each of our three friends and guests from Madrid are conducting, partly together with the Madrid Convention Bureau. And then the ultimate objective of this session would be to see if we can extract, at least for each of those areas of attention, one recommendation for all of the associations and perhaps for other destinations relating to legacy. So, without further ado, let me start by giving the floor to Guillermo Pradilles, who is going to tell us in about 1 minute what the project of legacy that he's conducting in Madrid for the conference that is going to be held in June next year entails. Guillermo, can I give you the floor for the next minute?
Yes, of course. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for inviting me to be here today in this global forum, Best Cities. CEPES is the Spanish Society of Prosthodontic and Aesthetic Dentistry, so obviously it's a society, a scientific society for dentists. And next October 2021, we are going to have our annual meeting, our annual congress. And I thought that perhaps this year we would be something different from our normal activity, which of course consists on having different keynote presentation, workshop, lectures, and so with a very important international speaker from all over the world. And next year, I would like to include some activities connected to the city of Madrid, because we are completely sure that Madrid is a wonderful city, it's a cosmopolitan city with a lot of opportunities to convert our Congress not only in a normal scientific Congress, but in a Congress with a social activity too, especially with people coming from Madrid. So this is our target for next year.
Guillermo,
Yes.
you already have a pretty clear idea of what you're actually going to do, right? Because you're actually going to go out into the city with the participants of your Congress. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, basically we connected with a convention, Madrid Convention Bureau, and we knew that they had a special project called Legacy, and connecting with them, we decided to take some kind of different activities, including people from Madrid. Basically, at least 2 or 3 different special activities, like, for example, place a tent in the middle of the city, in a very important place of the city, in order to do checkup for the people to the town, in order to check up the dental health, of course, especially with elderly people and with young people, with children. This is one of the activities, apart from, for example, including and hire as a part of the start people with some kind of disabilities, and including in the same Congress too some kind of sustainability philosophy and activities.
Okay. So how did you get this idea of going out into the city and setting up a tent to check on people's on the health of people's teeth?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Madrid. I love Madrid, and for this reason, I know how the people from Madrid. This is a very cosmopolitan city, very open for everybody, and I thought that it was a pity to lose the opportunity to convert our scientific congress not only inside our the walls of our congress venue, but outside our congress venue. So for this reason, we decided to organize this activity, sharing things and trying to teach the possibilities that dentists can offer to the people.
And CEPES, as an association, has supported this, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And what was the motivation of your association to actually put the energy into a program like this?
Well, in the end, we realized that it's not possible to be a scientific society only working inside of us. We need to expand our activity to share with the people, because finally we have patients. We work for our patients. So it was a pity not to share this activity during the Congress. For sure, it's a new activity. Normally, every year there is a congress in different cities of Spain, but never had done before these activities.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is we normally see our patients only in the rooms where we treat them.
Yeah.
That's silly. We have so many potentially other people that we could help. We need to go out and go to them. Is that right?
Yeah, totally agree with you. That's the point. That's our target for this year.
Right. And you stressed just now that you are you yourself are born in Madrid, and that the city of Madrid, in a way, has been an inspiration for you to do this. How does that connect?
Well, it's as I told you before. I was born in Madrid. I know perfectly how people from Madrid is. It's a very, very open city. Nobody's a stranger in Madrid. Madrid had plenty of monuments for shop centers, sport facilities, and so on. So for us, we thought that it was very important to share all our activities with the people from Madrid.
Great, thank you. Let's see the panel. Jeffers, James, Elena, could you open your mics, please? And could you try and get some idea of what this would mean to you with your associations? The idea of stepping out of the walls of a conference center where you normally do your congresses and actually going out there and doing something. Who would like to be the first?
I can go first.
Jeffers, please do.
Thank you. So, the impact that every association leaves at the area where they have carried their conference is normally very important. One of the things that sometimes as associations we struggle to ensure that it happens is sometimes in terms of budgeting, it's a bit of I can say a catch-22. We really don't know how much we should set aside for an activity which creates a legacy or an impact on the ground. And that normally, because normally a budget is well defined to actually take care of the conference. But again, I want us to also find out from the speaker, what is normally your budget when it comes to that?
Right. Guillermo, how have you dealt with the budget?
Well, we have our own budget coming from the society, and we deal with Madrid Convention Bureau and other different budget in which they are going to support part of the activity. But more important than the budget, than the money, is the possibility we have with the legacy projects through the Madrid Council to do different activities that it was impossible to do without their help. It's nothing to do especially with the budget, but with the possibilities that can offer to you Convention Madrid.
Okay, thank you. James or Elena, anything that you would like to question Guillermo on, please?
I actually wanted to ask, how do you think your participants are going to respond to that? Because we as well are a scientific organization. We are not a particular association, but we have done a lot of congresses, the last one virtually. And we have seen that, especially in this year, that people often, for example, responding to a virtual technology, they do things because they are a bit forced. I mean, there are no other alternatives. And if we are looking at the case, even if I see the value, I mean, we very often do see that, especially if you are in a destination which is so charming and so beautiful as Madrid is, that people, as they are there only for a couple of days, they tend to spend whatever time they have also to see the city from other angles. And I wonder, how do you what is your incentive part for your participants to take part in such an activity?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. We normally organize different activities. At least we had 2 different dinners with the delegate of the Congress. But apart from that, we normally promote every kind of discount and different facilities to encourage people from the Congress to go different places, for example, museums or shopping centers or different monuments that can connect with the rest of the activity of the Congress.
So you already have a history of connecting with the outside world, Guillermo. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, yes. Not like this year. This year is including the patient, including the people from Madrid. But normally for the delegate, organize a lot of different activities, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think, Elena, it's important to say that for now, for Guillermo's Congress, we're not looking at an online event, but this should be a live event. So actually the participants are physically going to go out of the conference center and are going to meet the patients. Right, Guillermo?
Yeah, that's right. We hope so, because it's in October. We hope so.
Yeah, so we hope that by that time we can have physical meetings again. We assume that you'll have physical meetings again. Yes, yeah, good. So as a tentative first recommendation, I think that we can glean from what we heard from Guillermo that it is good to have for your association a gradual policy of bringing your members out of the walls of the conference center. That's essentially, I think, what we can get from the initiative that they have taken with the Legacy project. Good. Let's move on to the second project, and for that I'd like to ask Natalia to take the floor. You have the ESTRO conference next year in Madrid, again, sometime still to come, so with a bit of luck you'll be able to do it physically. What is the plan that you have, Natalia, for your Legacy project?
Okay, let me explain. As you mentioned, ESTRO is going to celebrate the Congress next year, and for the first time in the history of ESTRO, it is going to be with a legacy project. So if I ask to the people what is chemotherapy treatment, almost everybody will know what is this treatment and what this treatment is, the indications and probably side effects. So they will know, the general population, that is a treatment that cures cancer. But when I ask people about radiation therapy, that I already did it, they don't know much about my specialty. They don't know even which are the indications. They don't know. They are even confused with the terminology. They don't understand very much the differentiation between radiation therapy and radiology. And even if they have an opinion, it's always negative. They express fear because it's related to radiation, radioactivity. They don't have clear ideas. So my legacy.
What you're seeing, if I understand you correctly, is that radiation treatment compared maybe to other parts of the world in Spain is very unknown, and therefore there's a lot of fear surrounding it, and people can't distinguish it from other medical interventions that use rays.
Exactly. Exactly. They even didn't know that is a key point. This is a very important part of the cancer treatment. So my legacy, our legacy, is to try to change this, to try to inform people, saying what radiation therapy is, which are the indications, but not only the specific and technical question, also how a unit of radiation therapy looks, or how are gonna feeling during the treatment, or perhaps do I need to do anything to do best my treatment? So all that information is gonna be in a web page that is my project, our legacy project. The name of the page is inforadioterapia.com. So it was launched one week ago. So this is the big problem. Big problem is to inform people.
Right. And again, did this idea come from one individual? Was this idea developed in a brainstorm session? How did it come about?
Well, in our case, ESTRO did contact with Madrid Borough Convention Center, because I mentioned every year the ESTRO choose a city in Europe, to celebrate the Congress. In this case, because our legacy, that was a very interesting work between Madrid Convention Bureau and myself, we were elaborating this legacy just to be the winners, and be selected by ESTRO. Yeah.
Okay, so you actually managed to bring the Congress to Madrid because you had this idea for a legacy project.
That's correct. At the very first time, we did present this program, this legacy program, with other cities that even we didn't know which were the other cities. So at the end, after different, evaluations, we finally get the Congress here, in Madrid.
Congratulations. But before we go on, I saw your hand is bandaged.
Yeah.
The corner of my eye on my screen. Are you okay?
I'm great, thank you, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so it's just a temporary thing, I hope?
Yes.
You needed some radiology to get the diagnosis, perhaps, but not really irradiation treatment.
Yeah, I already did it twice, yeah.
Okay, good. And it's healing all right?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. James, I'd like to ask you, because you have a slightly broader perspective perhaps on legacy. Is it already becoming common for associations to ask for a legacy project in order to assign their conferences, whether annual, biannual, to certain destinations?
Yes, I think so. I think ESTRO is probably a bit of a trailblazer on that front. I remember going to a presentation by Sven Bosu, who was with ESTRO, and he was talking about when he put out the RFP, they split it into two parts. One was functional, which was access, accommodation, all the, if you like, the hardware, and the other was the engagement project, which led to a legacy for the destination and for the profession. And the weighting in terms of that bid was weighted 60% in favour of the engagement project. So what's encouraging about that is that the associations are now becoming much truer to their mission and to their purpose, and putting legacy at the forefront of what they want to actually achieve from a gathering, rather than simply the achievement of gathering. So I think we're going to see an awful lot more of legacy at the forefront of any bid and at the forefront of any outcome, as opposed to the, if you like, the hardware element of the bids of the past.
Great. So you were saying they actually make a separation in the hardware, and the other part was called the engagement project?
Yes, the ESTRO engagement project really was ESTRO saying, if you're going to win the bid, what can you do to advance our mission to leave a legacy in the destination and the profession? And the net result was that, and it's an amazing achievement by Madrid, but they found a guy whose wife, I think, had been saved through radio oncology. And he was so grateful, and fortunately so rich, that as part of the legacy, he donated the funds required to repopulate the whole of Spain's hospitals with radio-oncological equipment. Isn't that amazing?
That really is true. That really is amazing. Yes. Okay, so that, Natalia, is that person also contributing to your project? Because that would solve all your project issues.
Well, obviously, I'm not a politician and I cannot invest on technology, and especially because radiation oncology is very expensive. But if I try to make understandable the speciality for the population and guarantee the accessibility to my speciality, because as I mentioned, the technology is not everywhere in every hospital. It's not so ubiquitous as other specialties. They are centered hospitals. So if we communicate with people that our specialty is a key part of the multidisciplinary treatment, they don't want to lose the opportunity to receive this treatment, that many of patients are losing that opportunity. We know that 1 out of 3 people is not receiving this treatment. And let me tell you that this is bad for the disease, obviously bad for the patient. So our legacy in Spain is to work on that part that through communication we can change things, over the years.
Yeah.
Because this is not something that we're going to do only for this year. We're going to continue with this legacy through the Spanish Association.
So I hear, as you are speaking and explaining things, that sort of your voice becomes more intense. So I'd like to ask you, what does this mean for you personally?
Oh, well, for me it's an honor to be part of this, because as everybody of us, we are very enthusiastic with our job. I mean, my job is my passion. So, but it was a challenge, not because the idea, I hope this idea will work, but because more important is how to measure, how to take the appropriate tools to measure the impact of this legacy in Spain. This is for me very important. And not, as I mentioned, only during a year. We want to continue with the legacy because we were treating patients for over 100 years, with radiation therapy. But nobody knows exactly what is radiation therapy. So we did something wrong. So we need to change this through communication, through information,
Yeah, great. Thank you. Clearly, I think maybe as a second recommendation, from what we just heard from Natalia, it seems logical that you need to have people with passion for the project. But if you don't have people locally with passion, it's probably not going to work. Let's move on to our third guest in the studio, Fernando. You are looking at securing the World Blind Congress for next year to Madrid. What exactly is the connection between Madrid and the World Blind Congress, which probably gives you, maybe a bit like Madrid for Estro, a good starting position to get that conference to your city?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for your invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here. And I'm working to ONCE. ONCE is the National Blindness Organization in Spain. And today, this year, we are celebrating our 82nd anniversary. And we are currently more than 70,000 employees here in Spain, and more than 70% of the employees we have a disability, all kinds of disabilities. I think that our organization confirms, and our work, our performance, and our history confirms that ability is more important than disability. And we wanted to celebrate this commitment and this performance, this story, and our commitment with the World Blind Union, celebrating and hosting the next General Assembly, the World Blindness Summit. The original idea was to celebrate the event this year in June. It couldn't be possible. We maintain our commitment, and the next the General Assembly will be the World Blindness Summit will be next June 2021.
Right.
Probably.
Fernando, just to get the numbers clear, because I think for you they may sound normal, but maybe for many other people they won't sound so normal. You have 70,000 people working for you, for your foundation. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are working.
And 70% of those people have a disability.
Yeah, all kinds of disabilities, physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, all kinds of disabilities.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wanted to get those figures out there because to me that sounds utterly impressive. How do you manage that?
Well, I think it's very important. I think this idea is very well connected with the three concepts of this forum: transform, engage, and impact. I think this is possible. This is not impossible. And I think our work, our story confirms that is more important. Ability is more important than disability. And I think we have very interesting stories in terms of success and disability. For example, laundry center. Our main customers are hospitals, hotels, and the employees in the laundry centers. Normally, the main figures of in the workplace is that 92%, 95% of the employees are people with disabilities, and the same idea, the same concept in the hotels. We have another added value in terms of hotels. The employees are people with disabilities. In this case, all kinds of disabilities too, and our hotels. We have added another concept, another idea, and it's accessibility. Hotels for all. I think it's very well connected with the summit, with the forum, with the concept of smart cities, smart and human cities. And I think that if one city is not accessible for all, it's not a smart city.
Yeah. Thank you. My external panel, Elina, if you hear these numbers and if you hear the connection that there is potentially between the World Blind Union, World Blind Congress, and organizations such as Union or ONCE, what comes to mind?
I think it's an amazing concept. We actually, when we were choosing a destination for one of our events, we were looking at several hotels, and one of them, I think, was apart from a very similar project. So they had a significant percentage of their workers were people who had a disability. And I mean, it was a great hotel, but honestly, I also do think that as us as an organization, and when we think about participants, we also are looking at added value. And then if you have, like in this case, a number of hotels which are similar in price offer and similar in design, but then you do feel that you in the organization are adding a bit of a value when you can choose a hotel which is responsible and trying to help communities like that it obviously makes your choice much more easier. And we did decide to go with that hotel services. And one of the decisions why, like one of the points we were considering was that. So I think it's absolutely great, and it's amazing initiative.
Do you have kind of a framework? Because you mentioned adding value, right? So how do you decide that? How do you measure that? Is there some kind of system?
I do think that that is one thing you mentioned with our previous speaker who were talking, is that I think all the meetings are more and more looking at what do they leave behind and where do they go, not just for a purpose of having a meeting, but also looking at the surroundings and what connects the meeting or a congress to a particular place. And I think with this one, it's quite the same, that we all know that the meeting industry, particularly before COVID and on pandemic, was not always looked nicely at. I mean, there are certain points when people look at, that there is the travel leaves an impact and printing leaves an impact on the environment. So I think more and more meeting professionals also are looking and bringing their meetings to the places how do they help the local community? How do they help the destination in a way as well? How to reduce any negative impact those meetings might be bringing to the big destinations. So I think like initiatives like that, I think they really also help organizations, because then you feel that you are more connected with the local place, local destination, and that you are also bringing more value, not just like in a business meaning that how much money you spend per day, but there is an added value as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Jeffers or James, do you have a question for Fernando?
Yes.
Go ahead.
But Fernando, I appreciate obviously you're looking at the World Blind Conference to Madrid. But I'm keen to know, do you have a predisposed legacy that you have in mind? And also, do you have a legacy pathway? How are you going to actually get from point A to point B, particularly if that legacy might relate to a 10-year project?
Yeah, a very interesting point. I think we are thinking in terms of proposal. We are thinking in terms of our own organization and the World Blind Union idea in terms of mission, vision, values, and how these values and this summit is connected with the city of Madrid. I think the legacy and the impact must be an opportunity in terms of future, in terms of long term, and I think is very well connected with equality, with rights, with positive impact in terms of society, in terms of communication. And of course, perhaps one of the main idea around the summit is accessibility. Accessibility and tourism for all. I think we have a great opportunity in terms of Madrid, in terms of tourism, and in terms of responsible tourism. I think the project and the summit is a common project with the Madrid Council, with the local authorities, and with the World Blind Union, with ONCE here in Spain. And I think it's an example in terms of the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, when we are talking about alliances and collaboration. I think the legacy must be added value, of course, but beyond an added value must be shared value.
So to put that into context, would you establish what was the level of tourism for disabled or blind people before the event, and then come back over time and measure the level of impact that maybe a change of policy as a result of that Congress has led to in terms of increased tourism and accessibility for blind people as a result? In other words, being able to literally quantify before and after an event what you actually achieved.
Yeah, I think, well, we have one of the reasons because Madrid will host this summit, I think, is the previous work and the commitment in terms of tourism and responsible tourism and accessibility. Of course, if we are looking in our agenda, accessibility is one of the main points, and accessibility is one of the main points of the legacy. And how we are creating this agenda and how we are creating this concept of legacy. This is a common agenda: the World Blind Union, the Madrid Council, ONCE, and the project office in terms of how is accessibility in the agenda in terms of public sector, public administration, tourism, and how could be after the summit. Okay, in this way, I think the Madrid Council, for example, they have a specific area, a specific branch in terms of accessibility. This is very important. And, well, it's very well connected, not only with blind people, I think with people with all kinds of disabilities, and connected with the legacy, sorry.
Fernando, and in bringing all these stakeholders together, who is taking the lead? Sorry,
could you mind repeat, please?
Yeah. I was wondering, you're bringing all these various stakeholders together, right? You mentioned the World Blind Union, the Madrid Council, other organizations. Yeah. Who's taking the lead in that?
Well, we are leading this project as ONCE, hosting the summit. And the most important point here are three organizations. ONCE as local organization, the World Blind Union as global organization, and ICBI, that is another global organization working about around training, employment for people with disabilities, etc. This work is possible thanks to other resources, other stakeholders, and thanks to the business community that are very, very interested in the impact in all the world of the summit.
Okay, so amongst the stakeholders there is also the Madrid Convention Bureau, and I'd like to go back to David in a second. But before I do so, I'd like to ask Jeffries, because you haven't had the opportunity yet to ask a further question. By the way, by now, it's okay, you don't have to necessarily ask a question to Fernando. If you have a question for Natalia or for Guillermo, please go ahead, Jeffries.
Thanks so much, Mike. Just a question to Fernando. You know, such a big investment in what they're trying to do. What is his biggest fear of maybe something that can happen which he didn't plan?
A pandemic, perhaps. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know, life is changed. Life is changed for the World Blindness Summit too. We have to adapt now the format, the original idea. And we are changing different aspects that we had in the original plan. Now, the format will be different, the concept will be different, the participation will be different. And, beyond the summit, we have a specific event about technology, the international exhibition technology connected with the summit. And different new ideas that we are now connecting the dots, the different dots in different positions. And I think that the summit, perhaps our main challenge, our main objective is to have and celebrate the best summit and the best impact and connected with people of Madrid, in terms of this participation, engage, and transform the city.
So, is there anything that you are afraid of? Something that you think might go wrong, because it's such a huge enterprise that you're taking on.
Sorry. Si hay algún problema,
Another?
Sorry, I couldn't. Could you mind?
Okay, let me repeat the question. Now, the question was whether there is anything that you really fear, something that might go wrong, because this is such a huge enterprise.
Yeah. The original plan was other plan than the current plan, and perhaps we have the current idea is an online format open to the participation with the delegates and the 193 countries of the World Blind Union. We know that the circumstances and the legal aspects around the coronavirus, etc., will have an impact in our project, and we are adapting the concept and adapting the spaces, adapting the participation, adapting the side events, and adapting all around the event.
Right. Thank you. David, could I come back to you, please, now? Because there's two things that I'd like to ask you. One is about the measurement tool that BestCities has for legacy projects, right?
Yes, Mike, this is something we are working as an association, as an alliance, in order to quantify or to measure how we can, well, yes, how we can measure the impact that an association can create in a city through legacy.
Yeah, James was hinting at that, I believe, in one of his questions.
Yeah, have you come across the Copenhagen Legacy Lab, Mike? Because that is a fantastic new tool that's been opened up by one of the BestCities members.
Yeah, and it's been actually sort of put together in a report by BestCities, which I believe is available. David, the other thing I'd like to ask you about is how does it work for you as a CVB to work with these projects and the funding around it? Because I know that you have some funding available. Can you explain a bit how you actually work with that and how you can use that as kind of seed capital?
Yes, this is also very new for us as a CVB. We started, as Natalia said, with the Seor Estro project. So we are on our first step in this path that we want to follow. But let me say, because I'm a little bit emotional now, thank you to our ambassadors, because without them, it's impossible to deliver impact in the meeting industry. We are just a tool, but we need their commitment and their support to work with us in order to create a positive impact in our cities. So we have resources limited, we have human resources also very limited, but we love to create this impact in our cities. And with such an ambassadors, it's easy. So we really look forward to the future. And next year, this is what we would like to talk with those who join us in Madrid, how to generate, as Fernando said, a social inclusion through tourism. And we would like to tell the associations how they can be creating a social inclusion through their congresses.
Great, thank you for that. And that already anticipates the third part of our program, which we're going to talk about next year's live global forum, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to briefly conclude with three recommendations that I appear to have been able to extract from what we've heard. And afterwards, I will thank the two panels and David. But I think the three conclusions that we can draw from this is one, it is important for associations to really develop a kind of a policy, an approach, an attitude towards possible legacy, and to gradually begin getting your members accustomed to even for very scientific conferences, such as the one that Guillermo mentioned, to take them outside the walls of the conference center. I think the second one was very clearly expressed by Natalia. You need passion. You need to really think that a legacy project is worthwhile and that it contributes to the meaning both for your participants and for the world around you. And I think the third one, from the contributions by Fernando, it was easy to see that a legacy project inevitably involves a large number of stakeholders, and the more you manage to get all these stakeholders on the same page, the more likely your project is to succeed. With that, I'd like to thank our three guests from Madrid on legacy, Guillermo, Natalia, and Fernando. And could I have an applause from the other three who are online for them, please? So if you open your microphones and do an applause for our three guests in Madrid. I can see you applauding, but I can't hear it. Anyway, it works the same. It works the same. Maybe you can do the applause for deaf people, which goes like this. Can you do that? Good, that looks good. Jeffers, yeah. Right. And now I'd like to also thank our three external panel members, Elena, James, and Jeffers. And could we have a round of applause from the panel in Madrid for our foreign guests, please? Lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me make sure that I get this right. With that, we close the topic of legacy. Thank you for having been on this part of the program. Thanks again to our panel from Best Cities. And we're going to move on because the next thing on our program is going to be the virtual tour of Madrid. Now, let me explain how we're going to do this. And for this, I need my glasses. Bear with me. We're going to transition to the Madrid City Tour. David, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good. David, is it cold outside in Madrid today?
No, we have a sunny day today.
Do people need a coat to go out?
No, they don't need a coat. You almost never need a coat.
Okay, good. So those of you who are going to go on the virtual tour, you don't need a virtual coat. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to move you to another platform shortly. I'm going to explain how this works, and then we're going to, in that platform, visit 4 locations in Madrid. Now, before we do so, it is good custom that when you get to a foreign place, you at least know one nice, convenient phrase to introduce yourself and to say something in the foreign language, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do is learn this little sentence in Spanish. Bear with me. I'm going to pronounce it as well as I can. And when I go like this, you're all going to practice at home. Okay? So here we go. The sentence is, Hola, buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás? I'll repeat. Hola, buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás? Okay? So, we're going to practice now. 1, 2, 3. I think we can do better. Let me repeat again. Hola, buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás? Practice. All right, good. Write that down phonetically for yourself so that you can remember, because the point of this is when you reach the 4 destinations, your hosts will invite you to say this sentence and thus connect you all with Madrid. So, how are we going to do this? We're in On Air right now. You've all logged into On Air, and we need to go to another platform, which is an experiment we're going to do. It is called Wonder, and the Wonder platform allows us to form small groups, network, and move in Madrid. For this, you need to do the following. You go in On Air to the next session, which is called Madrid Virtual City Tour. When you click on that next part of the program from your list of program sessions in the agenda, you click on that Madrid Virtual City Tour. That will take you to a next screen where you can choose click here to access Wonder. Access Wonder, and this will open a new tab in your browser called Wonder. Meanwhile, leave the On Air tab open because later you're going to come back to On Air. And if you leave it open now, it's easier to return there after the city tour. When you reach Wonder, if you're a first-time user, the platform will ask you to take a picture and to do an audio and video check. This is really simple. All platforms do it. We've all become accustomed to it. It takes less than 1 minute. We hope you are on Chrome because like On Air, Wonder works best on Chrome. So use the browser that you're using, do the clicks, and you will be in Wonder. Now, once you are in Wonder, you will find yourself in the central square of Madrid called Plaza Mayor. And you will see this the plaza in your screen. You will also see your own avatar there, the little picture in a circle with you, and you can move along by using your cursor or your trackpad. So you can go from a central area where you land, which is a central lounge, and go to these 4 areas, which are on screen as well in the 4 corners. So you come in the center, you can move around, and you can go to the 4 corners of your screen by using your avatar. This means you're actually walking across the Plaza Mayor to these other places. When you get there, each place can hold maximum 15 people. So once you see that there's around 15 people there, go somewhere else. And if everything is full, I can't see from here how many people we have, but I think we're around 60 because we have been around 60 these days. Just stay in the central lounge for a chat with other people. We will do 4 rounds because we've got 4 sites. Each time you will hear my voice making the announcement that it's time to move to the next location, and that's your cue to pick up your avatar again and go somewhere else. So, quickly summarizing, leave On Air open, click on the next session, which is Madrid City Tour in On Air, then click to access Wonder, fill in your personal details, and get to Madrid, move your picture, your avatar over the screen, and join the 4 locations. I'll see you back here in just over half an hour after the virtual Madrid City Tour. It's been a pleasure so far. I'm happy to see you back later. Please now go to Madrid. Bye.